Hey guys, we're going to continue here on Chapter 6, Section 5, talking about linear inequalities. You want to pause and copy down these vocab words. So linear inequality, y is less than x plus 3, can be formed by replacing the equal sign of a linear equation with an inequality symbol, which is what happened here. Solution of a linear inequality is any ordered pair that makes it true. We'll talk about what these things look like in more detail in just a minute, but first, let's laugh at this dude. When you are on the Jumbotron, make sure you are aware as to what you're doing. This guy was digging for gold. I love the face. Let's watch it again. It's funny. Hey, dude, you're up on the Jumbotron. Oh, no. Oh, that's great. All right, so let's keep going here. Identifying solutions. This is really, really simple. You want to know, does the ordered pair make it work? So I'm going to just substitute in. So we'll try this first one. Is 1, 2, an ordered pair a solution of this? So I have 2 is greater than 1 minus 3, and 1 minus 3 is negative 2, which is 2 is greater than negative 2. So that one works. Then we try this other one, negative 7. I want to know, is that greater than negative 3 minus 3? Negative 7 greater than negative 6. No, negative 7 is not greater than negative 6. So we'd say no, it is not. That's all you're doing on those, is just substituting in to see if it's true. All right, so you go ahead and try. The answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, the answer on this one is a yes, because 6 is less than or equal to 6. Make sure you're paying attention to that sign. Come on, arrow. There we go. All right, make sure you stop and copy this down. This is graphing an inequality in 2 variables. It says each point on a dashed line is not a solution. A dashed line is used for inequalities with greater than or less than. It's very similar to that idea when you first start learning about graphing inequalities, a single inequality, where if I had x is greater than 2, and I had 2 right here, it would be an open circle because that shows it does not include the value. All right, it's the same idea. A dashed line does not include the values that are on the line, just like this does not include that 2. And a solid line is the same thing as if I had x is greater than or equal to 2. All right, solid line does include that. So if this were my inequality, I'd fill that bubble in. I'd go ahead and graph that, which tells me it does include the 2. This tells me all the lines on that point do make it true. This is a really easy thing to just pass over if you're moving too quickly. So make sure that you are paying attention. All right, so what is the graph of this? You're going to graph these, if it's in y-intercept form, slope-intercept form, we're going to graph it the same way that you would a line. And we'll pay attention to this in just a second. So if this were an equation, y equals x minus 2, I'd start with the y-intercept of negative 2. Let me change my color here to make it easier for you to see. Okay, so y minus 2. And then my slope is 1, so I go up 1. Just like that, and I'll go back this way so that I can make my line straight. Now when I go in to fill in my line, notice this is not underlined, so it's dashed. So just make sure that you're paying attention to that. And then here's the last part that you got to do, is I need to see what side I'm going to color in. All right, so I'm always going to use the origin, the point 0, 0, as my test point, as long as the line doesn't go through the origin. This one doesn't, so I'll ask, is 0 greater than 0 minus 2, which is 0 greater than negative 2? It is, so what that means is that this point right here is in the solution. These lines divide the coordinate plane in half. One half of the coordinate plane is a solution, the other half is not. And so the way that we show this is we just shade in the side that is. And you could scribble like I do, that's perfectly fine. Or you could shade it in lightly with the side of your pencil. Or a colored pencil, that's perfectly fine. All right, so what this means is that any ordered pair that's on this shaded side will make this true. Any ordered pair on this not shaded side is not true. It doesn't work for that. So that's how we look at these. Here's one for you to try. The answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, here's what you should have got on this. Notice that the line is filled in and it's solid because it is underlined. And then the origin also made this one work, but this time the origin's below the line, so I fill in down here. Let's keep moving. What about these situations where it's just a single variable? What is the graph of each inequality in the coordinate plane? Well, if this were x equals 1, we'd have a line that goes right through here, but it's not x equals 1, it's x is greater than 1. So we start out with a dashed line, vertical line going through that. It says it's all the values that are greater than 1, so I'm going to shade this side in. For y is greater than or equal to 2, it's similar, except this one's going to be a horizontal line, and it's a solid line, because this is underlined. It says y, all the y values that are greater than 2, which are going to be all these. So you just shade that in. All right, so that's how you do these. These are pretty intuitive. I don't think you'll have any issue with those. Let's keep moving here. All right, rewriting to graph an inequality. It says an interior decorator is going to remodel a kitchen. The wall above the stove is to be tiled and is 12 feet. The wall above the counter is to be wallpaper, is 24 feet. The owners can spend $420 or less. Write a linear inequality and graph the solutions. What are 3 possible prices for wallpapers and tiles? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I need to, let's change my ink color, write out how this is going to look. So I'm going to start out with 12. 12 is going to be my tile, so I'm going to call that 12T. And then 24 is my wallpaper, so I'll call that 24W. And it has to be less than or equal to $420. Now, it doesn't matter. I'm not using X and Y's here, so it doesn't matter which one you use to isolate. I'll go ahead and just isolate this one because it's already by itself. But you could isolate the W, and you'd end up getting the same thing for solutions. So I'm going to isolate the T, subtract 24W from both sides, and I get 12T is less than or equal to negative 24W. I'm isolating this so that I can graph it. It's not the only way to graph, but it is a way to graph. Divide everything by 12. And I end up getting that T is less than or equal to negative 2W plus 35. Now normally this would be Y and then X is over here. So I'm going to go ahead and treat that over here the same way, and I'll say that this is my tile and this is my wallpaper. I need some prices here though, so I'm going to call this 10, and we'll just go up by 10s. 10, 20, 30, and 40 should be enough. Down here we'll also go up by 10s on every other, 10, 20, 30, and that will be enough. I'll change the color so that you can see my graph. My y-intercept is 35, and as long as the intervals are the same, so this goes up by 5s, this goes up by 5s, as long as the intervals are the same, I could still use my slope, which is negative 2 over 1. So I go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, and that's going to pop me right in the middle there. It's a solid line. Whoops. Bear with me as I try to keep this straight. So there's my solid line. You guys will have a ruler. It's hard to do this on this electronic doohickey, but that's a solid line right there. And I fill in all the values that are right here. These are all the values that make it true. And you're just going to pick 3 of them. It says, what are 3 possible prices? It doesn't matter. You could pay something that's right here. It could be 10 and 10. You could pick 20. You could pick $5 for tiles. You could pick $20. You're just picking 3 ordered pairs in the shaded part. And that's all you're doing on this one. All right, so pick 3 ordered pairs. I'm not going to pick them for you. You'd pick your own. Here's one that's similar for you to try. Go ahead and pause, and the answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's what I got. Here's my graph. Yours should look something like that. And then right here, you can get 6 pounds of peanuts and 0 pounds of cashews, 4 pounds of peanuts, 1 pound of cashews, 2 pounds of each. There's other answers. You could have put stuff that's in here. I picked stuff on the line just because that would be using all of the $12. Yeah, so there's that problem. Writing an inequality from a graph. For this, you're going to be doing the reverse of what you're doing. So first thing is, let's identify the line. We're going to write it in Y format. We'll get our equals in a second, but let's identify our y-intercept, which in this case is +1. And then let's identify our slope, which it goes from this point to this point, so that's going to be a 2. Remember, that goes with x. This is based on y equals mx plus b, which you should be comfortable with. But then I got to figure out this inequality sign. Now notice it's solid, so that means it has to be underlined. But how do I know if it's going to be less than or greater than? Well, it has to do with over, under. If it is shaded underneath, if I go down from any one of these points, down, then it's going to be a less than sign. So this one is less than. If it's shaded above it, it's not ever left or right. It's above or below. If it's shaded below the line, it's less than. If it's above the line, it is greater than. So this one is written out like that. Here's one for you to try. The answer will be up in 3, 2, 1. All right, that's what I got. Y is less than. Notice it's less than because it's a dash line. 1/2 x minus 1. All right, so hopefully you got that same thing. If not, go back and check your work. And that's it for today, so make sure you've taken good notes. I will see you in class.